Welcome back to the CD Financial Podcast. CD Financial, where health meets wealth. I'm Marcus C., your host. That man across from me, as always, is Chuck D. Chuck, my man, how the heck are you?
Staying in there, Marcus. Not going to relent, baby. I'm not going to go down without a fight. In flames, but I'm in there, baby.
Keep your head up. I'll tell you right now. So we all have those times, right, where we just kind of push through, if you will. I am so looking forward. I am planning a trip right now. My wife and I, my brother and sister-in-law, we've never traveled with them, but we're planning a trip to SoCal. So you will be seeing me in the flesh soon, my brother. We will be over there rattling your cage. Yeah. So that's got me pumped. That's helping me push through, is the idea that in a few weeks I'll be sunning in SoCal, and I'm so looking forward to it.
Great. And you're bringing New York,
Yes.
NYC, Queens,
Yes.
right?
That's
Yes.
correct.
You're bringing
Yeah.
them with you. So they're going coast to coast.
Yep, and never been. So my brother-in-law's been to California on business, right? He works he works IT, works tech stuff. I don't know what he does. I can't explain it. He knows what he does, but he has been to San Francisco, but in and out, right? In and out on jobs. So he hasn't really seen California. So we're gonna do the PCH. We're gonna hit Yosemite, Palm Springs at some point. We're gonna do a kind of a well-rounded tour of SoCal and maybe a little Central Cal, right? But yeah, really looking forward to that. That's keeping me going today.
What was
So
the artist name? John Muir. So
yeah,
you're going to do a little Yosemite Valley, and
yeah,
then you're going to do PCH, which is glorious outdoorsy
yes,
stuff. Then you're going to kick it Frank Sinatra style in Palm Springs.
that's it, man. I'm putting on my mid-century modern gear. I'm gonna rattle around, walking around downtown Palm Springs with a whiskey in my hand, a la Frankie. And yeah, man, I'm looking forward to it. Should be a good time.
Cool, cool. Okay, I'm glad I could be a part of it, even in
Yes,
a small bit.
yes.
We're
Jama
rocking
family
the
will
coast,
always be
folks.
part of it.
Yeah, you know it. We're really rocking the coastal part of that when you get down to the
Yes,
bottom there. Yeah.
yes. So, all right, man. Well, those are my plans. That's coming up. I'm glad to hear you're powering through. You're keeping your head up and nose to the grindstone. So today's topic is near and dear to me because it focuses on a group of people that, one, I was part of, two, my family was part of, and that's IRS employees. Right? We always talk to federal employees. We talk to them a lot on this podcast, but specifically today, we're dealing with IRS employees. And like I said, my family, my mom's retired IRS. I have friends that are retired IRS, and I worked briefly for the IRS as well, so still have good memories from that. So why are we discussing IRS employees specifically? What's going on, my man?
Okay, and I'm going to tell you. And by the way, as a disclaimer, um, these points will apply to all federal employees who are getting either RIFT, a reduction in force, or they're electing the DRP,
Right.
the Deferred Resignation Program. But at the IRS, they are really pushing hard for folks to be retiring, and they're having some pretty regular rounds of layoffs. I guess on Fridays that's happening. I know
Hmm.
I've got reports from folks that I work with and help families out in Fresno and in
Right.
Ogden. Also, apparently, that's going to affect places like, well, where you're at, Marcus,
Yeah.
Austin, right? Yeah,
Right.
because you got a big IRS offices there, Denver, and you were saying that your
Charlotte.
returns get routed to Charlotte. So
Yeah.
all the places that have big hub of IRS employees, they are either encouraging them to downsize or
Hmm.
they are making them downsize by laying people off.
Yeah. Okay. So then let's focus on a couple of things. Just kind of narrow down the field. Start with the work environment. What does this mean for those who are having to deal with the RIF or who've taken the DRP? How does that affect the work environment?
Well, I mean, if you're coming to work sometimes and you're wondering if you're going to have your job or not, or what your choice should be, right? Or if you don't make a choice, they're going to make it for you. It's gotten a little, let's just say it's a little exciting. The work environment has kind of, it's got people on edge, and it's hard for them to stay on their mission because they're busy worrying about what the future holds for them. So
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons we do these podcasts and the 3 mods that I launch on Tuesday, the 3 minutes on a Tuesday,
Yeah.
albeit that can range anywhere from 2.5 minutes to 7.5 minutes these days. Yeah, but we try, right? We try. Used to be a lot easier, right? But there's a lot to talk
We are
about.
not slaves to the clock, man. If we got 7 minutes to talk, we talk 7 minutes, even if it's called 3 minutes on a Tuesday.
3 mod. Yeah. So it's a tough work environment now,
Yeah.
right? I mean, coming in, you don't know what to expect. I
Yeah.
will tell you this:
Hmm.
the first round of DRP, um,
Yeah.
deferred resignation, they got 7,000 or 7,500 employees. Now,
That's nice. Yeah.
yeah, the IRS, that's like 7.5%. I've heard the stats that they're 100,000 strong.
Hmm.
So if 7,500 people took that first round, that was a great start. The
Yeah.
second round that just ended here, I've been given stats of 20,000
Wow.
IRS employees. Yeah,
Wow.
20,000. So you've got 27.5. I mean, you're
Yeah.
approaching, well, you're well past one quarter, getting
You're
towards
almost getting
one.
up to a third.
Exactly. That's what
Yeah.
I was going to say too. You're getting up there. So, I mean, they've got a lot of they've got a lot of the goal. I heard that the administration wanted it to reduce down to 50% of what they had before, 50,000. That was a
Right.
really ambitious goal, but I mean, you got 27.5. What are you lacking? 23? Not even 22 and a half,
Well,
right?
you're better. You're halfway to your goal. If the goal is 50,
You're
then yeah, you're
beyond.
better than halfway there.
Yeah, you are. Yeah. And if you get, I mean, let's say you get like 43%, you're only
Uh-huh.
talking another 15 and a half, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they might actually attain this. I'm just wondering,
Interesting.
and I will tell you that others are wondering too that are retiring from the IRS, who's going to process their retirement paperwork internally before it goes to OPM, to Office of Personnel Management? Because he said with everybody retiring, who's left to do the work? And I
Yeah.
said, this is a real concern, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a real concern.
I think that a couple things in changes in the IRS we've seen in tax preparation. Even it's been streamlined a little bit, which maybe helps with the reduction in personnel. You don't have to physically look at everything the way they used to, right? So that is a change. However, you will always need. I'm sorry about that. You will always need personnel, right? You'll always need personnel working on those things. So. Um, I got to take a time out. Sorry, cut real quick. My apologies.
Turn that,
Right.
turn
It's
that thing
off. It's an
off.
emergency call that comes through.
What?
That's it. It's off.
Just go back where you started
Okay.
talking before the phone rang.
Yeah. So, um, one of the things that we've seen, at least in the last few years, right? If you've been paying attention, the IRS has streamlined a lot of the processes with tax returns and things. So maybe that's helping with the reduction in personnel. You don't need as many eyes on there, but you will still always need some personnel. But let's focus now. Okay, so work environment maybe a little bit stressful getting through these times. What about effects on the cities? What are we looking at? What are we thinking? People are going to be leaving Ogden and Fresno and Denver.
I don't know. Denver, it's a pretty robust city with maybe or without that presence of the big IRS employer. Austin, again, where you're at, I
Yeah,
think, it's ever expanding. That job scene could stand to cool down a little bit, maybe. Um, yeah, and
I'll tell you what.
Charlotte,
Let me
what
throw this
was
out
that?
there as an Austinite. If we have less people moving to this city, we're going to be happy about that. And maybe even if a few people decide to leave, that's okay. The traffic is horrible. The infrastructure of the city is just not built for the amount of people we have. I don't ever like to run people off. I'm very hospitable. I'm all about open arms and welcoming people. But nah, as far as speaking on behalf of a lot of Austinites, if a few people leave, we'll be fine. I think we'll be okay. Go
Charlotte
ahead.
too,
Yeah,
robust economy. I mean, I've
yeah,
been there. My nephew moved there and he works there with his new bride. So yeah, it's thriving cities. But Ogden,
yeah.
it's a smaller economy. Fresno, quite small besides agriculture and IRS, right? So
Right.
it could impact some of these smaller towns. Yeah, it could have a little bit of an impact on it. We'll see. I mean, Fresno, you've always got the chance to move over towards Sacramento or San Jose or San Francisco, Oakland, or
Hmm.
other parts, right? Yeah, even up towards, I suppose, Reno and places like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking Fresno with Yosemite so nearby, maybe go work in the park, man. I'd love to. I don't know if the park services may not be hiring, but I think that'd be a cool
They're
gig
not.
if you left an office and worked in the national park.
Yeah, they're not. They're not hiring. I assure you, NPS is not hiring.
Yeah,
They're going through similar things, not as aggressive and as drastic as the IRS reduction, but
yeah,
they're being presented with the same thing, and some things monuments may be reclassified, et cetera,
yeah.
right?
So will we be going back panning for gold here soon to make a living, or I don't know. There's still gold in California. I know.
Is there? Maybe you should point me towards it. Yeah,
We'll go panning next time I'm out. We'll
you
we'll,
gotta
we'll look
sift
for
quite a
some.
bit to get your ounce, right? From what I
Yeah,
understand. Yeah,
yeah. It's a
yeah,
lot of
it's
work.
pretty.
I don't necessarily recommend it, but okay. So do you want to talk about then some things that might help if you took the DRP and you're looking for a way to extend maybe
Yes.
your work
Okay.
time, or if you were part of the RIF, right? You're part of that reduction in force. What are you
Let's,
thinking about? What are we talking to?
all right. Let's talk about if you're reduction in force, where you're just laid off,
Yeah,
and you're not 50 years old. You don't have, or you're 50, but you don't have 20 years of service,
yeah.
or you got 23 years, and you don't quite got to 25. Just today, I talked with somebody, and they said, "Look, Charles, I'm trying to remember now what it was. They were they had 21 years of service,
Mm-hmm.
but they're not 50 till August of this year."
Ooh.
And so, yeah, they were concerned that, if I don't make that age bracket,
Mm-hmm.
um, yeah, that's right. Then they were concerned that, hey, I don't want to get laid off in the middle, right?
Yep.
And don't want to get pinched. Yeah. Somebody else was going to be I think they were going to be 60 really soon, but they only have 19 years of service.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, yeah. So right, it would be really helpful if you could get the supplemental payment. For those who are forced out or have taken the DRP, you're not going to get the supplemental payment to your minimum retirement age, which is typically 57. Let's just call it 57. It might be a couple
Okay.
months sooner than that, but
Yep.
you have to have 50 years old and 20 years of service, again, or 25 years at,
At 60, right?
no, at any age.
At any age. Oh, 25.
50
Yes.
years with
Yes.
50 years old, 20 years of service,
Yeah.
or 25 years of service at
Any
any
age. Yeah.
25 years of service at any age. Yeah, then you'll qualify for an unreduced pension. But what did you say? What are some of the concerns?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, well,
we can
well, I
talk
mean,
about filling the gaps. I mean, what are we doing?
okay, so some of the concerns are that you're just so young. So
Yeah.
let's talk about the cons here, right? And maybe we can hit some pros in a minute. But
Okay.
you're just really young. So getting that pension, it might be really nice now, but it might not really be that substantial in 10 to 15 years
Right.
because it's going to stay the same, right? And
Yep.
you're not going to get a cost of living increase till 62. And so because of that, it could whittle away the purchasing power of that pension because the dollar's purchasing power loses strength over time, especially without that average, let's say, of 2% cost of living adjustment. So that's the real danger, right? And then if you start to remember, folks, if you turn 55 the year you're separated, retired, or laid off, rift, then you can access your TSP penalty free. Most people think
Mm.
there's a penalty until what age, Marcus?
I was thinking till at least 57, but 60 is usually what I go with
Right,
in my head.
59 and a half.
59 and a
So
half. Yeah. So
there it
60.
goes.
Yeah.
So 59 and a half is where that mark is for if you try to access your IRAs, your 401ks, your TSP,
Yeah.
403bs, 457s early, you'll get charged a 10% penalty, but not if you're separated the year you turn 55.
Okay.
Then you can access that money penalty free. The problem with that scenario is
Uh-huh.
that if you shrink your retirement savings down, that usually was the money that was meant to be used for an inflationary hedge and growth for years to come. So you
Yeah.
may have heard the idea of a bucket of money for income. So the near bucket wants to be more secure, safe money, and then the midterm or maybe just the near bucket, and then the second bucket for growth and stocks to beat inflation. Well,
Yeah.
if you're pulling on it a little too early, it might not it might not be able to do its inflationary adjustment for you later.
Yeah. And that's and you're looking at, because again, we're talking about people, Rift, that are young, and we use the term, relatively young, right? But they may have 20 years of service, but in their mid 40s or longer, and not looking exactly to retire right away. I mean, they're dealing with the issues, and like you said, if you start dipping into all that too early, then by the time you're 60, 70, which we're hoping everybody's getting into their 70s and 80s and 90s in great health, there's going to be less there, and then there's going to be issues because at that age you don't have as many options to work. So
Oh,
that's a huge con. Yeah.
okay. So let's talk about the pros then. Okay.
Pros. Let's talk about it. What are
Yeah.
some of the pros?
Well, I mean, you're young.
Yeah.
You still got a lot of energy. It might be
Yeah.
cool. I mean, if you could live on your pension and your and maybe your supplement if you're close enough, then it could be something super cool that you still have a lot of energy. A lot of folks talk about. They tell me they say, Charles, we're going to relocate. I got a place in Mexico. I got a place in Costa Rica and it's paid for. I could go to Portugal. I've had some people
Yeah.
tell me Portugal or the Philippines, and they can live on nothing in Thailand, right?
Yeah.
And various places, right? So yeah, or maybe you're just going to relocate out of an expensive state to one that's less expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And depending on what you want to do, and I'll throw a pro out there that we've discussed previously on other podcasts. You know, pro may be you finally have time to develop a business. A lot of people punch in, right? They do their 9 to 5s or their 40 hours a week and have business ideas, but never had the time to do it. Well, now maybe you're looking at an opportunity where you can say, okay, I'm getting a little income. I'll be okay. I'm going to survive. Now's that time to develop that small business that you've always wanted to do, or maybe just dreamed of doing. Maybe it's always been in the back of your mind as a dream one day. Well, maybe today is one day. It didn't come about how we hoped for, maybe planned for, but if the opportunity arises, maybe a good time to take it.
I mean, you never know. This could be a door of opportunity to you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You just don't know. So you might as well operate from that mindset that it's an adventure, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's a journey, not a destination type thing, right? It's a cliche, but life is a journey. You don't know where it's going to turn and what doors are going to open, and they could be some fantastic opportunities ahead for you.
Absolutely. And I think that was going back to when we first started discussing all these changes back in November of last year. One of the things that Elon Musk talked about from the start was stimulating the economy by putting people back in there and developing on that entrepreneurial spirit, right? Getting people to start businesses, to kind of work for themselves, and hopefully that would stimulate the economy. So maybe this is that opportunity. Maybe that's what we're looking at.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Now, sometimes a bit of caution here. I've had folks say to me, Charles, I think I'm going to take that TSP and I'm just going to pull it out and I'm going to start a business. And I say, what percentage are you talking about? Oh, I'm talking about pulling all of it out. Um, that might not be a balanced approach.
Yeah.
Yeah, that might not be a balanced approach. I'm not saying it definitely is the wrong way to go. I'm just saying it might not be balanced.
Yeah.
It might be that you want to be a little more modest about how you launch, maybe a little more grassroots, and you might need that retirement savings for later in life.
Yeah.
I'm just I'm not telling you not to do it. I'm just pointing out that there might not be the most balanced thing to yank out all your retirement savings, 100% of it. What's more is you've got to remember that there could be a serious tax implication
Yeah.
where you could launch yourself into really high tax brackets because of what you're doing. Yeah.
Getting it all in one lump sum. Yep, you can lose a lot of it. Um, so
Yeah. Give a lot of it up to Uncle Sam and the state government. Yeah.
So we've been talking a lot. We mentioned a lot, I should say, the idea of working part time, and now that we've brought up the idea of businesses, I thought of a couple of things. If you want to view this as an opportunity as opposed to just a problem, right? Then I've thought of a couple of things that for IRS employees specifically that they might want to think about doing, and it's based on my personal experience seeing out here, what the need is. You want to get into some of those maybe
Sure.
part-time jobs or businesses. And
Put a
and I'll
couple
mention
down.
what's
Put a
that?
couple down for us, big boy.
All
Put a
right,
couple down for us.
all right. Well, I got three for you right off the bat, and one is seasonal, which is tax preparation. Now, tax preparation, you'd be surprised how many people have no clue with your taxes. And when you work at the IRS and you're surrounded by people who know taxes, it's easy to fall into this mindset of everybody gets it, right? It's pretty basic stuff. You get out in the real world, and I do tax preparations. One of the things that I do. You realize how many people just need help to get their taxes in order. How many people have not paid the IRS in years? And when you start to dig into that and you start to get with them, man, it's a huge need. And word of mouth, you start doing that for one or two people, help them out of a jam. Nobody likes the idea of the IRS, being behind them. That spreads and that grows pretty easy. So that's one, I think, a good opportunity. It's seasonal work, but again, it may help. You make a nice little chunk of money in a few months. The
Oh, I
second thing,
know. I
what's
know a
that?
lot of I know a lot of folks that are looking oftentimes for somebody to help them with their taxes. And
Yeah,
they'll ask us a lot of times, "Hey, do you have anybody to recommend as an accountant?" So yeah, and you don't have to be an accountant to prepare
correct.
somebody's taxes. Oh, so
Correct.
Marcus, you got another idea for us?
I do. So it goes kind of in line with that because I'll tell you what's had happened to me, and people come to you with their papers, especially if they're small business owners, and I deal with a lot of small business owners. They have no clue how to keep books, and bookkeeping is one of those things that if you download a program like Intuit, we're not sponsored by Intuit. We'll welcome their sponsorship if they want to give it to us. We're not sponsored by them, but something like Intuit, right, where you get this app, you can help keep track of them. You charge them $100 a week, couple $100 a week, whatever you want. Small business owners will see will appreciate, right, the help with getting all that organization. And at the end of the year, it's easier for them too because you help them make quarterly payments, which most people don't. You help them with the taxes at the end of the year, where they're not hit all of a sudden with a big chunk of money, once a year, and it pulls that fear away from them. A lot of people fear the IRS, and I was telling them, look, if you're doing everything right, you have no reason to fear. You just have to follow the rules, right? You just have to go and do. So bookkeeping is another one, and then a third one,
Ah,
if you don't mind me
great.
dropping that one, go ahead,
Let me comment between your job
please,
ideas.
please,
Well,
please.
you're like a racehorse today. You're like,
I got it, man. I had my 10 cups of coffee. No, I just had 2 cups of coffee. But I'm feeling it today, baby.
A good bookkeeper
Hmm.
is really valuable to
Yep.
a small business owner like myself. I will
Yep.
tell you that we pay $55 an hour, and I thought that was pretty stiff. But when you talk about filing the S corps and the C corps and keeping it
Yeah.
all straight, and bringing just a sense of organization and promptness to the tasks that are necessary to run a small business, it's fantastic when you get hold of a bookkeeper. Really, it
Yeah.
really is they're worth their weight in gold. So don't
Yep.
underestimate how much you're worth and how much you could actually charge. Now, I'm in Southern California, so rates are pretty steep compared to other parts of the country, but still,
Yep.
everything starts to fall in line somewhat. So yeah. Um,
Absolutely. And you don't have to be a CPA to do bookkeeping.
oh
It's an
heavens no.
important distinction.
She's not.
Um,
She's not a CPA. No,
yeah.
she just
Yeah. A
knows
lot
how
of,
to run QuickBooks. Yeah, she's familiar with it, and
yep.
yeah, my wife and her wife still does. Angie still takes care of the personal, right? The personal
Yep.
QuickBooks. So yeah.
Yep. But I mean, that sort of thing, it's doesn't require licensing and you can charge a good amount. And then the third one that came to
Well,
mind, and again,
number three,
no,
Marcus, why don't you share with us?
we're sooner or later we're gonna do the David Letterman thing, right? Number three. So the third thing would be become an enrolled agent, and I've known
Oh,
several retired IRS employees that do just that. They become enrolled agents, which for those that don't know, an enrolled agent is basically who's someone who can represent individuals to the IRS. in cases of settlements and things like that. And for most people who've been, if they've been in the IRS for a long time, a lot of that stuff is they already have the knowledge. It's just a matter of testing and getting certified. And that does require passing tests. But again, it could be something where you charge what you want, you work as much as you want or as little as you want, and you can make a decent living doing that.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. So, enrolled agent, I see a lot of former RAs, revenue agents that
Hmm.
become enrolled
Yeah.
agents. The
Yeah.
other thing is, a lot of you that may be listening from and that you did process or you were doing call centers or customer service, um, there's never a shortage of demand for those who will answer phones. And a lot of those jobs now are remote. You can hear
Yes.
that. You know they're remote, like when you call in credit card services and software support or
Yeah.
what have you, because you can hear babies sometimes or dogs or something, right? And
That's true.
yeah,
Yeah.
right. So you can flex with these jobs, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're used to dealing with sometimes some pretty edgy folks when they're calling into the IRS. So
Nobody calls to the
now,
IRS to be happy and just say hi. Let me just throw that out there from experience. Nobody just calls to say hello. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
right. And so if you're doing customer service for other companies, the folks aren't going to be near as edgy. And
Yeah.
you could even work in the customer complaint department and you'd probably find out that you've got a really high level of skill set to
Yes.
handle these kind of inbound calls. And I don't know,
Absolutely.
you could thrive. Who
Yeah.
knows?
Yeah.
Yep.
Customer
No
service
matter.
is a huge thing. And yeah, you're right. If you've had to deal with people on the phone at the IRS, it's never a happy conversation. So if you've learned how to deal with it, great option.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
just don't sell yourself short and don't forget that in order to prepare for things, you need to prepare. That
Yeah.
means you need to understand what your benefits are right now, if you had to leave right now, and what they could be in the future. Some of you are toughing it out, and you could be right because if they get rid of enough employees, then they're going to still need plenty of folks to
Yeah.
be there. And so they may just be trying to flush out those who are voluntarily going as well. I know we've gotten rid of probationary employees and there have been some, the weekly rifts, but that's going to slow down, I would think, but we'll find out. We don't know what the actual end game for this specific agency for IRS employees. But look, this is now my 17th year. And when I started 16 and a half years ago or so, this is who I started with. It was almost entirely IRS, Internal
Yeah.
Revenue Service, families. And so, from there, I went to CBP and I went to federal courts and other small business association and such. But, and now DOD, like crazy deep with DOD. But all agencies I work with and all employees. But I have a special fondness actually because
Yeah.
I've known so many families for so many years that work with the IRS. And
Yeah.
they're just like you and me, folks. They bleed red and they love their families and they
Yeah.
just want to do what's right. And yeah. And
And
so
it's a
I wanted
shame.
to launch this.
Yeah, a lot of them get a bad rep because they work for the IRS. But I mean, we just like I said, it's near that workforce is near and dear to my heart, not just because my mom is a retired IRS employee, but a lot of friends, and so yes, yes, you are correct there. Just like us, they're
Yeah,
they're
I
not
have.
they're not responsible for some of the things you have with the IRS, the problems.
No, they're not. And any agency, you're going to get oddballs, but I
Yeah,
have some of the most wonderful families that I work with from the Denver area, and it was from two different folks that were just exceptional. I mean, people of the heart, and just kept referring me to others or organizing
yeah,
lunch and learns, and we were really able to help quite a lot of folks. And yeah, as I said before, we wanted to do this one episode. It applies these principles to everybody if you're listening, federal employees, or those who have taken the DRP or been laid off, rift, right? But specifically IRS folks, we want you to know what you got, what your rights are, and what you might be able to pivot towards.
yeah, yeah, and it's good. And this is we always remind people this is where you want someone on your side. So if you haven't had a consult, whether it's with CD Financial or just haven't gotten someone on your side, this is the time to do it, especially if you're concerned about what may happen. Because obviously, in this short podcast, we can't go into personal details, right, about anything or really individual help. And that's what you really need to have, that peace of mind moving forward, dealing with RIFs and taking DRPs. All that will be a little bit easier if you got someone on your side to help you through it.
There you go. So just go ahead and if you need that 15-minute complimentary phone call, just text your name, your first and last name, and your email to 949-359-5100. 949-359-5100. We're here for you. We'll help you
Excellent.
out. We get these texts constantly, right?
Yeah.
And we'll be there to explain things. Hey,
Yeah.
Marcus,
Yes.
you got a health tip for us?
I got it. I got health tips coming out my ears today. I got one. I got a good one because we're dealing and in fact with a lot of this uncertainty, we deal with anxiety, right? A lot of people deal with anxiety. And one of the greatest things for anxiety is exercise. We always think about exercise for the body, which is great for the body, right? But exercise is so important for the mind. So one of the things that I wanted to highlight today or share as a health point in regards to this is the other day I was reading a quote and it said, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. Second best time to plant a tree is today. If you're dealing with the anxiety of what might be coming and you don't have a regular exercise routine, well, the best time would have been 20 years ago to start it, right? But the second best time is right now. So if you're looking at potentially having some time off, if you've taken the DRP, you got a few months ahead of you before you have to get back to work, if you're going to go back to work, or if you're dealing with a RIF, one of the best things to do, implement a regular exercise program today. Get out there. And it doesn't have to be, you don't have to go out and run 7 miles because you might kill yourself if you do that. But go out for a walk. Start lifting some weights. Get active again and develop a program today. Make that part of your routine. And that will help immensely. You'll feel better, not just physically, but mentally. It'll help immensely with that anxiety.
Wow.
So,
Hey, you know what? I took a walk on the beach, which I don't usually do midweek this week,
yeah,
and I noticed everybody. It was semi-rocky beach. Everybody else had sneakers on. I just had my bare feet, and
I agree.
I I was earthing. That's what my wife has told me it is, and boy, I felt good. It was longer than usual, like a 45-minute walk, but I
Mhm.
felt really good when I got to work. So
Yeah,
I don't know. That's if you can get down, you don't have to be in an ocean. You can be at a lake or
yeah.
anywhere. And if you get down and you do some earthing on bare feet too, sometimes it feels really good, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a great idea. If you're going to do your exercise routine at a park or something, and there's grass or just soft ground, take those shoes off, walk around.
Uh,
Man, you feel so much better, so much more relaxed.
my neighbor has this crazy dog named Jax, and the reason I mention is because we started talking about something about working out. And I just do calisthenics, just a set of
Yeah,
push-ups before I go walk the dog in the morning. And he said he's been doing adult yoga at 24 Hour Fitness. So because I said something about just stretching, it's amazing how much
yeah,
you can sweat when you're doing Pilates or whatever. And he goes, "Yeah, I'm doing just adult yoga twice a week," he says. And I really enjoy it. He goes, it's mostly just stretching. I'm like, yeah, it mostly is, but it's amazing how much your heart rate will go up trying to do that,
mhm,
those
yeah.
moves. So whatever you can, it's gonna make you feel good. Yeah.
Absolutely. And make it like I said, make it a regular thing, right? Get it into your schedule. Now's the time. If you didn't do it 20 years ago, now's the time. Now's the best time to do it. So,
Go
all
get
right,
them.
man. Well, is that's good for today? We appreciate all the good information for the federal employees, particularly the IRS employees that are dealing with maybe RIFs or have taken the DRP. Then, by all means, get someone on your side. You get through these times hopefully anxiety free, but if not, at least with a lot less anxiety than maybe before. Chuck, my man, thank you so much as always for everything. Folks, this is the CD Financial Podcast, CD Financial, where health meets wealth. I'm Marcus C., and we just want to say thanks for being here with us.